Hey, John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. I've got a question here today from, this is actually a pretty common question that I get, and something that I experienced myself. So I thought I'd read this question, just kind of a short one, and answer this for all of you QA people out there, automation. So this question says, I just finished rewatching your Pluralsight course on automated web testing. It's that good. Cool. Really liked how you broke down the process of building a framework. It's been extremely helpful. Thank you. In my research, I found that testers are normally less paid and underappreciated compared to their developer counterparts. Do you have any suggestions for overcoming some of the stigma that QAs might face? He says that he graduated with a CS degree 3 years ago. For the past 2 years, he's been working as a Batman, basically on automation. Looking forward to hear back from you, even if it's just a few sentences or a quick YouTube video. So definitely going to do YouTube video here. And then he says, P.S. Going to sneak in one more question. Would you consider test automation to be a decent niche for a personal brand? So let me address the first issue here, which is basically this the idea that testers are underpaid, less appreciated, as QA. And then any suggestions for overcoming that stigma? So first of all, you're definitely right. And to some degree, it's rightly so, right? Like, I'm not going to, obviously this isn't going to be popular to say, but to be honest with you, right, QA in general, just regular QA, is a lesser skill set than development. Now, I can say this because I was in QA, right? That's where I got started for a lot of my career. I spent a lot of time, even when I was a beginning developer, in QA roles. And it's definitely not as difficult to test code as it is to write code, right? Let's not try and let's not try and make excuses for a simple fact, right? Sometimes we're like, oh, we don't want to hurt so and so's feelings because everyone is valuable in the team. That's not true. Everyone is not as valuable in the team. That's why different people are paid differently. That's why different skills are in higher demand. And so let's not pretend that. Now, it becomes a little bit different though when you are talking about someone who's doing automation, right? That's really, in fact, I would say that being able to QA automation, to be able to write automated tests, is a higher skill set than development in many cases, right? A good automation engineer is probably in higher demand, is more valuable to a company than an average developer. So now before I go into that, let me back up one more time and say, okay, so let's say just from the QA part of overcoming that stigma on the QA side, very difficult to do. Really, the best way to do that, if you are QA and you're not automation, or you can become automation, that's kind of where I'm going with this, is that if you have the same skill set as a developer, if you can write code as well and understand that, and you choose to do QA, which some people do, then that kind of helps to overcome that stigma, because you have the education and experience. You're just choosing to go a different route, versus a lot of people that are in QA they're forced into that because they don't have the skills as a developer. They can't actually write code. So that's the way to really overcome that. And I kind of wanted to go off on a small trail here, which is basically to address this idea of, let's say that you are a QA person and you are trying to get into development, because there is a big stigma there and it's very difficult to do. The best thing that you can do in that situation is to start taking on small development tasks as much as possible in your current environment, right? Can you help a developer with something they're working on? Can you try to get small tasks, right? It's very difficult to say, okay, I want to transition into a development role, right? No one, even within a company, it's going to be very difficult to get hired as a developer when you have the stigma of being a QA person. It's just the fact of the matter. Like, let's address reality here. So in order to overcome that, if you can start taking on development tasks, so you kind of pretty soon it's like, wow, you have a QA title, but you're doing development. And if you're helping developers, doing beyond what your QA responsibilities are, that's going to be your best way to transition to get rid of that stigma, but it's going to be hard. It's still hard because people see you in one particular role. They see you as one particular thing. It's very hard to change the perception. You may have to go elsewhere in order for that to happen. But now, going back to the test automation aspect. So I'm actually going to address the personal brand part of this as well. So first of all, yes, it's a great personal brand to be a QA automation expert. That's a really good one to have out there. And the reason for it is because personally I think it's one of the most valuable skill sets and one of the most in high demand ones. So I actually thought about, when I was sort of doing the simple programmer thing, I thought about when I was going out on my own, I thought about just specializing in QA automation. And to some degree, a lot of the high-end consulting I do is around QA automation, helping people build frameworks and understand that. But you could certainly build an entire business just off of being an expert in automation. So that's definitely a really good idea. And again, like I said, if you develop that skill set, if you're an automation person who can write the code, right? This is someone who can actually write code to automate testing. That is extremely valuable. It's to me, it's a higher position than just a developer or just a QA person, because it requires skills on both sides. It doesn't come from a lack of having development experience. In fact, you have to be really good at design in order to do that. And so definitely a road I recommend. It's also a lot of fun. I really enjoy, some of the most enjoyable work I do is in the test automation. So if you're having problems with the stigma, being an automation person, I think I don't know, you can in your own mind say that you're really a QA automation engineer or whatever the title that you need is, but know that you have a higher skill set than most developers, and you're qualified to do development work. I mean, if you can write an automation framework and you can work in that and build automated tests, you can pretty much write code. So I wouldn't really be too concerned from an ego wise. Sometimes it might be hard to communicate that point, but if you kind of use that as your personal brand and you show that you have expertise in this area, you're going to find plenty of clients, plenty of customers, plenty of job opportunities for someone that can actually write automation code, more importantly write a framework, an automation framework, and set up an automation strategy. So hopefully you find that answer useful. Again, don't mean to bash on QA. Like I said, I came from a QA background, but let's be realistic and understand where the values are. And then, like I said, I think the value hierarchy goes, I think QA and testing in general, just the lower level of QA and testing is kind of at the lower end. Then you have developers, and then I think QA automation, black box automated testing is actually at the highest, and I think it's a more valuable skill than development in general. So, all right, well that's it for this question. If you like these videos, subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that, and take care. Talk to you next time.